In today's episode, we're looking back at some of the most impactful conversations from the past year. These are conversations that hit close to home. Literally, local leaders whose lives and influence continue to shape our community. These are men who are having a great impact, and it's unmistakable. Ask anyone who knows them, whether they're leading a company that transforms families or if they're coaching a team that shapes our youth. Their leadership leaves a mark that lasts, and yours can too. Today, we revisit some of the most impactful moments from these local legends. Get ready to be inspired, and it's a reminder for you that world-changing leadership starts right where you are today. How much has the core of it, faith and family, impacted the success in the first place?
Yeah, very, very good points that you brought up there. And, we're certainly successful in way more than just football, like you said. And, I'm happy to watch that as well. But, I'm a Christian, and I think we were created in God's image. Okay. So I think that people cannot be ever satisfied or content or having a purpose in their life without that aspect that fulfills you, because I believe we were created with that hole in us that is searching for the meaning of life, Phil, and so I think if you have the meaning of life figured out, which is right out there for you, if you want to read it, that's what I believe. Like, I think the other things are just small things. And they, when you have a person that has a purpose in life and knows, kind of the answers to the big questions, like, I think there's three big questions, Phil, that we all need to answer. Like, where did I come from? And I'm not just talking about biology here, but like my soul, right? Like who I am, not just the DNA from my parents I'm talking about, right? And like, where did I come from? What am I supposed to do when I'm here? What am I doing? And what's going to happen to me when I die? I think those are the three big questions that people may not admit that they have those questions, but I think they do. And, I think when you have those answered by your faith, I think that my faith and God and Jesus as my Savior answers those three questions. Okay. And I think once you have that figured out, I think you just have a freedom, okay, and a basis to just skyrocket on things.
I just talked to John Wood recently. So John Wood is from Versailles, eye doctor, moved to, he lives in Tiffin now, but I just interviewed him. He's doing phenomenal things, co-authored a book or published a book with Matthew Kelly. He speaks to all types of different reconciliation retreats. But he said there's just a couple of big questions. And there was three or four, I forget. But like you guys, two different discussions a couple of days apart, so the exact same thing. And what is it founded in, basically? And the more you know that, and he talked about freedom, mission, like his book is Ordinary People, Extraordinary Missions. So just so many synergies. And just because I think the message is, it's two guys that I talked to that are very aligned and clear on what their faith is. That's why you can speak so confidently with that.
Nobody around here thinks that way anymore. It's what do we need to be doing to drive the next area of success? So that's first and most important. Then the second is kind of what I alluded to. I'm 2 years from a part-time role and 5 years from a full-time role, full-time retirement. And we're working on that already actively now, succession planning. How can I lead better through others? Do I need to be doing the things I'm doing, or can we start transitioning some of those things now so that we can have some time as it falls in other hands and talk about those things together? And I'm convinced, because the people that are going to succeed me are so unbelievable people. They will take this company to a whole nother level that it doesn't even dream of now and can't think about, because they got old fuddy-duddy guys in their 60s running the business right now. These guys are young, energetic, great ideas, given some proper guardrails and financial tools, I'm excited about where this thing's going to go. So that's my second thing, is I got to make sure we do succession planning right. I've got a little less than 2 years to get that done to a part-time role, but I'll still be in here 15, 20 hours a week for another 3 years after that.
There's statistics on this. I don't know the exact ones, but so many businesses make it to the second generation and fail in the third generation. And succession planning and setting it up right, keeping the family or whomever it is motivated and engaged, they're all different challenges. Doug, when should someone, first of all, and there's people listening to this, and I just want to get the business started versus succession planning, but when should people be thinking about this? I mean, in your opinion, when is the right time to start thinking about succession planning?
I'm kind of a weirdo, but we started this at my first board meeting 9 years ago. We started talking about succession planning. They're like, "Are you kidding me? We're going to talk about this?" And I said, "Yeah, we've got to start talking about this now so that we're ready when it happens." Hopefully it's a planned period of time. If it's not, at least we're ahead of the game. So what that's allowed us to do is I encouraged one of these individuals to get his MBA. He's since finished his MBA, got a much more foundational business view on making decisions now. He's now our vice president of operations, fantastic individual. And he and a couple of the other candidates who are all third generation members, they've been doing a significant amount of training. We mentioned aileron earlier. They've been taking professional management type classes, conscious leadership type classes, that they understand the effect of some of the things they say and do and think, how to read others. They've been doing a lot of that type of thing. And including, we talked about Father Cromley. Father Cromley has a very cool leadership training event in Colorado at a cool little ranch in the mountains. And that's called Audeo. They've both taken a 3-day Audeo class in Colorado and have evolved and grown as leaders. But that doesn't happen if you say, "Okay, I'm retiring next year. Let's cram all this stuff in." It's taken 9 years to get to this particular point, and we can see the finish line now.
Started out coaching right out of college. Came back and coached for my high school coach, Dave Zeller, who was a longtime coach at Piqua. And then he was at Graham, who I played for. And then I came back, coached with him for a year, and then kind of took over the head coaching job when he retired from there. And, my first, I would say, 7 or 8 years of coaching, I pretty much did things just like everybody else did, trying to figure out who I was. I was really just a cheap imitation of everybody that coached me. And just had kind of a pivotal moment where I realized I needed to either change the way I looked at coaching and what I was doing, or I needed to stop coaching altogether. And the situation I wrote about in Surrender the Outcome, but I got frustrated with my daughter and knocked a popcorn bowl out of her hands. I mean, I can still see the situation now. But what it did for me is it gave me perspective, and it completely changed the way I viewed coaching. I viewed it prior to that basically as an outcome-based zero-sum game. Either I won or I lost. That meant you were better than me or I was better than you. Everything was a comparison. And then after that, I transitioned. It wasn't immediate for sure, but I transitioned into much more of a process base, really thinking about how I wanted to impact the people that I was leading. So at that time, it was the kids I was coaching, my kids at home, my family. What did I want my impact on them to be? Really kind of defining my purpose and reason for coaching. And that led me to, a lot of different things now. I went from teaching math, taught geometry, advanced math, calculus for a while. Then when I moved down to Centerville, I did that while I was at Graham. And then when I moved down to Centerville, I taught some different math classes. But eventually I wrote a leadership class and presented it. I was using it with kind of all the different captains of different sports teams. It was really stuff that we had started doing while I was at Graham with our teams. And then that turned into a full-time leadership class, which I taught. We were one of the first schools around to offer that, where that's what I taught. And that was incredible because not many kids are using a Pythagorean theorem after they get out of high school, right? Or
right.
Solving quadratic equations. But when you start talking to kids about their purpose and why they do what they do and what values drive their decisions, and what values are real and which ones are aspirational, and which ones do they really follow. And when you start getting into that stuff, now you're talking about stuff that actually matters all the time and applies to everyone, regardless of their job, their sport, their position, their role in life. So that kind of led me to that stuff. So
at home and at work, the personal vision just gives me some guidance. Gives me that voice on the shoulder that helps me determine whether what I'm doing is really going to provide fulfillment for me or not. So in that mission, be a positive impact for others, that we are enjoying life together. A big component of that is other people, and that positive impact is a positive impact on them. So I need to understand them. I need to get to know them at a level that I can truly understand how I make that impact for them. It's not how Matt Hoying wants to impact them. It's how they need to be impacted by Matt Hoying at that point in time. I'm a faith-based guy, Phil. I believe that God has put me on this planet to do certain things with the skills that he's given me. And so I believe that I'm put in those situations every day to help people get where they want to go. And anytime I miss that opportunity, I've missed doing what he's asked me to do. And so I look at that at home and at work, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Sometimes I feel like I do it better at work with the people here than I do at home. And other times I feel like I do it better at home than I do it here. And it's been very hard for me personally over the years to try to separate the level of care and concern that I have for people. The 86 of us here at Choice One are family to me, just like the 6 people that I go home to every day, my wife and my 5 kids. I get to spend a different amount of time with them, and we're doing different things. And I would say it's more predictable here, because we're dealing with, people of similar age, similar life experiences. Whereas at home, my kids are from 13 to 3 years old, and different personalities. I didn't get to sit down and hire them, hire slowly with them. That's who God put in our life, my wife and my life. And thank God for her that she manages that way better than I do. But that's how I use that statement. It kind of just reminds me, like, hey, I've been put here for a reason. That reason's not for Matt Hoying. That reason's for how can God work through me to help other people get where he wants them to be.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the important part, a big component, you said these words, a big component of that is other people. And I think that's really important. And I think, so like the book, Good to Great, there's other books that talk about how do you find purpose? And I like your purpose statement because it's general, but you can apply it in different areas. But for me, like I've landed on something that's a little bit different. And I think you're saying this, but it's, okay, how do you combine a passion, which you're saying, look, if we can impact other people, but also how do you add a skill to that, which, I would say your skill early on was maybe engineering, math, but that has evolved and you've grown into people and leadership. And by the way, you are being humble, but yes, people are unpredictable at home and probably more unpredictable, but in general, the role of leadership, people are also just people. They're humans and they're unpredictable. So that is a challenge. But anyway, my kind of 3, if you take your passion, your skill, and then you put others or God in the other, like if you, a Venn diagram, that's, I think, how you can help find your purpose and your passion. I wasn't planning on going here, but I just want to ask, and sorry if I put you on the spot. If I do, we'll edit it out, Matt. How are you applying faith in your business? Like, is it just being good people, or is it more than that?
That's a great question, Phil, and one I've struggled with a lot over the years. At the end of the day, it's looking at being Christian, and our values tie back to being Christian, good moral people that I believe can be Christ-like in our life. We don't specifically have moments of prayer or things like that. Our former president, Tony, does lead a Bible study for people that choose to participate in that. But that's completely voluntary and really outside of the work hours. But yeah, it's not specific. We don't have it posted anywhere. We don't mention it anywhere. It just is more of a personal guiding light that then filters through, I think, through the rest of the company. And we're fortunate. I consider it fortunate. We're fortunate enough that we have a lot of people here that share similar faith-based values. And so it's not shied away from in conversation by any means.
My balance between work and home life wasn't great, and part of that's by necessity. You shoulder this load and you come in early and you try to get off at a decent time so you can make ball games and eat a quick bite, with your family at dinner. But as soon as everybody kind of goes their separate ways for the evening, I'm back in my office working a couple more hours. And that process, and again, kind of by fault, I was everything to the business back then, and in an unhealthy way. So I had back in 2020, I had a seizure one night, and it was kind of very scary for my wife, my family. I thought I was having a heart attack. My health wasn't the greatest, and that was kind of the wake up call. It was a wake up call for me. As a man, as a husband, as a business leader, as a dad, that if I didn't get out of the way, I was going to cause some serious harm, not only to myself and my family, but also the business. And so I remember coming in and having a conversation with Mike, like, hey, we're to that point that I've got to make some tough decisions, and we've got to really go out and recruit the next generation of leadership here, and invest in some individuals. And again, like I said before, he was all in on that. So that next year was really, really tough. And again, what led up to that was me just burning out, right? But when you make a decision as a company or as individuals, or even Mike as a business owner, that, hey, this next year is going to be an investment year, it's going to be a rebuilding year. And we went out and got aggressive with the people we felt like would help take us to the next level and really allow me to offload some of my loads so that I could be more healthier at home and have a more balanced life. That year was very stagnant as far as financially. But what it did is it laid the foundation. The next year we had a record year, and it just took off. And it's more than taken off financially. And I love this in life, and it's happened so much here personally, especially in the past year, where I thought I might have been the glue holding stuff together, or the one that was supposed to lead the torch in a certain direction for whether it's here or community or personal life or whatever. And then you feel the nudge of the Holy Spirit saying, man, I need you over here. And when you lay that down and then you watch, like in the rearview mirror from a distance, you watch him through others that then pick up that torch and run with it, do the most amazing things. It builds so much confidence and reassurance that, that season has moved on, and there's so much beauty in that, and there's so much beauty in seeing other people grab that torch and run with it.